Good evening friends, this is Victor Ravikiran. Today I am going to explain you about Old Man and the Sea. This is a short novel and cannot be divided into chapters, but for our convenience we are going to divide it into four parts. First one is introductory. Here in this novel, Santiago is an old fisherman. He usually used to fish in a skiff in a Gulf stream. For the last 84 days, he could not be able to catch any of the fishes. For the first 40 days, the boy named Manolin has been helping him. But after 40 days without catching the fish, the boy's parents told him that the old man was unlucky hand and he cannot catch the fish. So you should not go to along with the old man to catch the fish. Instead of that, you have to go with other people so that you can learn something. But the boy's heart is with the old man. Though his parents asked the boy not to go with the man, but he has been helping him. So throughout the end, we can see the friendship between the old man Santiago and the boy Manolin. For instance, he took the old man to the town restaurant named Terrace, and he has entertained him with some beer and food. The boy also offered to get some sardines for the old fisherman on his next day's fishing trip also. The boy said that he would get some additional baits besides the sardines. The old man said that the next day it would be a favorable day for his fishing because the 85 is the lucky number, and he has a confidence that he is going to catch the fish. Definitely he is going to catch the fish on the 85th day. So with that confidence, he went on to catch the fish, and he told the same thing he conveyed to the boy. And the boy made all the preparations for him at that night. That means on the 84th day night, the boy asked Santiago what he had got to eat. The old man said that he had eaten a pot of yellow rice with fish. The boy asked him if he could take away the cast net, and the old man said that he could. Actually, there was no cast net. The boy remembered that it had been sold. But they went through this fiction every day. There was no pot of yellow rice and fish, and the boy knew it too. The old man said that 85 was a lucky number. The following day would be the 85th day for the old man to go on his fishing expedition in the present series. So he suggested that they should buy a terminal of the lottery with the number 85. The boy said that he would borrow $2 and a haul for somebody for the purpose. The boy then brought some food and beer for the old man. Martin is the owner of the terrace. And this Martin did not charge him anything because of his kindness towards Santiago. The old man is not ready to take the food for free of cost, and the old man said that definitely he would repay him with a belly of big fish. The old boy and the man then talked about the baseball, and the old man said that DiMaggio was a great champion player. So they discussed all these things. And on that night, they both went to sleep. The boy went out to his house, and the old man slept there. During his sleep, the old man dreamed of Africa in the days when he was a boy. He dreamed of the young golden beaches and the white beaches, so white that they hurt the eyes. The old man at this time of his life no longer dreamed of storms, nor of women, nor of great occurrences, nor of great fish, nor of fights, nor about his wife. He only dreamed of places of lions on the beaches. Before the morning the next day, the old man went and woke up the boy at the boy's house. The boy came with the old man to the latter's shack in order to help him to carry the fish gear and other things to the shore. Next day, the boy went and brought the promised sardines and the fresh bites for the old man. The boy then wished the old man good luck, and the man sailed away in his skiff. That is the introduction of the first part. And the second part is adventure with the marlin. On the 85th day, the old man knew that he was going far out. He has taken his boat into the clean, early morning smell of the ocean. Before it was really light, he had his baits out, drifting with the current. One bait was around 40 fathoms, the second was 75, and the third and the fourth were down at 100 and 100. Each hook was covered with a bait that was sweet smelling and good tasting to any big fish. The projecting parts of the hook were covered with fresh sardines. Manolin had given the old man 2 fresh small tunas, albacores also, and these hung on the 2 deepest lines. The old man now kept a watch on the dip of various sticks over the side of the skiff and rowed gently to keep the line straight up and down and at their proper depths. There was enough light now, and the sunrise was close at hand. 2 hours after sunrise, Santiago saw a bird called as a man of war, with its long black wings circling in the sky ahead of him. The appearance of this bird shows that the presence of the fish in the water. The next moment, some fish sprouted out in the water and sailed desperately over the surface. The bird tried to catch the fish. At the same time, Santiago saw a big school of dolphins cutting through the water below. Obviously, the bird had no chance. Flying fish are too big for the bird and went too fast. Santiago had a feeling that the big fish he wanted to catch that day must be somewhere near. The bird was almost out of the sight. Nothing showed on the surface of the water except some weed and a purple bladder of the Portuguese man of war floating towards the side. The Portuguese man of war turned to the side and then righted itself. And on looking up, The old man saw that the bird was circled again, and one of these fish got hooked by the Santiago's lines. Santiago pulled it aboard and felt happy. The fish was an albacore about 10 pounds of weight. Santiago thought that this albacore would make an excellent bite. Santiago now felt a happy pull upon the line. Obviously, the marlin had got hooked. Santiago let the line slip down, unrolling off the first of the two reserve piles. As it went down, slipping lightly through the fingers, he could still feel the great weight. Santiago had 340 fathoms coils of line, marlin, to take the sardines at the point of the hook going into the heart and kill it. But that has not happened. The fish just moved away slowly and the boat began to move also. This means that the boat was pulled by the fish. The fish moved steadily, dragging the boat behind it towards the northwest. The other baits were still in the water. The old man thought that if the boy, his friend Manolin, was there, he would have helped him. The man said aloud, "I am being towed by the fish and I am towing the bait. Thank God he was traveling and not going down. If the fish were to go down, the old man would be in a serious trouble." He thought he had the confidence that he would be able to think of some device to pull himself out of the difficulty. 4 hours later, the fish was still moving onwards towards the skiff, and the old man was still braced solidly with the line across the back. The fish had beaten hook at noon, but the old man had not yet been able to see it. There were 2 more hours before sunset. The old man thought that the fish might appear on the surface for that time, or it may come up with the moon sunrise the next morning. The man had yet no cramps and he felt strong. It was the fish which was in trouble because the hook is sticking in its mouth. The old man wished that he could see the fish at least once to know what kind of opponent he had to deal with. The fish did not change its course nor its direction all at night. The old man could do nothing to the fish, just as the fish could do nothing to the old man. Now, a small bird came towards the skiff from the north. It was a warbler, a kind of flying bird, very low over the waters. The bird was very tired and it settled down on the line. The old man talked to the bird as if the bird could hear him and understand him. He asked the bird to stay on there as long as it is liked. Just then, the fish below gave a sudden lurch. The old man would have been thrown over the bird if he had not just controlled himself in time. The bird flew away. The old man realized that the bird would be there. Then the old man saw the marlin emerging from the water, looking bright in the sun. The marlin rose its full length from the water and then re-entered smoothly like a diver. It was the old man's first view of the marlin. The marlin's sword was as long as the baseball bat. Its tail was like a big scythe blade. The marlin was 2 feet longer than the old man's skiff. It was a huge fish. If it were to become violent, it could work havoc with the skiff, but it did not realize its own strength against the old man. But thank God, they were not as intelligent as the old man who killed it, although they are more noble and more able, the old man thought. In other words, it was the man's intelligence that helped him against the enormous physical strength of the brute creatures. The old man wondered why the marlin had jumped. Perhaps it had jumped to show how big it was. The old man wished that he could show the marlin what sort of a resolute man he was. His determination and his intelligence would prove to be more than a match for the marlin's bigness and strength. The fish was now moving onwards before towing the boat. The old man now had another work before him. The fish was too big to be pulled aboard. It was necessary for the old man to lash the body of the fish to his skiff. The fish seemed to be over 1,500 pounds of weight and would bring the old man quite a big sum of money. The old man felt that the great Di Maggio would feel proud of his achievement in having killed such a big fish. Then he went on with the work. He was able to catch the fish, shrimps from the Gulf weed which floated close to the shrimps. The old man told himself that was better than the fish only through his tricky, and that the fish had meant no harm to him. He looked at the fish constantly to make sure that he was not seeing a dream and that he had really killed the fish. And now the third part, fight with the sharks. Almost 1 hour later, the first shark made its appearance. Was very big shark, able to swim as fast as the fastest fish in the sea. Besides being utterly fearless, the old man got ready with his harpoon and made a rope fast while he watched the shark coming to attack the dead marlin. The old man's head was now clear and he was full of resolution, but he did not have much hope because his good fortune could not last forever. The sharks came and tore away the chunk of the marlin's flesh. Yes, then the old man rammed the harpoon down onto the shark's head. The old man's head used all its strength in doing so. He had hit the shark without hope, but with resolution and complete malignancy. The shark was killed and it went down slowly into the sea. The shark had taken about 40 pounds of marlin's flesh and it had taken away the old man's harpoon also. The old man was filled with deep regret because he lost the harpoon. He did not want to look at the marlin anymore because its body has been mutilated. When the marlin had been attacked by the shark, it was as if the old man himself had been attacked. But he tried to find some satisfaction by thinking that he had killed the shark, which had his whole experience or a dream and that he had never hooked the marlin. But then he drew strength from the thought that the man was not made for defeat. A man can be destroyed but not defeated. He killed the shark because he was more intelligent than it, or because perhaps he was better armed. He was now left only with the mutilated marlin that and baseball. He wondered how the great Di Maggio would have liked the way he had hit the shark in the brain. And the last part is returning home. When the old man touched the shore, the lights of the terrace were out, and he knew that everyone was in the bed. There was no one to help him. He stepped out of the boat and fastened it to a rock. He removed the mast, furled the sail, and tied it. Carrying the mast and sail on his shoulders, he started climbing the rock to reach the shack. It was then he realized how tired he was.